So welcome everyone to the first segment that I decided very spontaneously to do this year, which is introducing one person every week to talk about the need of the week. And this week's need is inspiration. And so hashtag 52, week 2, here we go, inspiration. Now, when I want to be inspired, there are so many different ways of doing that. I can go to the beach and go and collect shells or just stare out at the ocean. I can read a book. I can cook. I can do all sorts of stuff. But one of my strengths is actually the appreciation of beauty and excellence. So art has always been important in my life. And that could be performing art as well as visual arts, as moving arts, anything. And I am very, very delighted to have my old friend Sabrina here today. Sabrina Klein, who until recently was the director for artistic literacy at the University of California at Berkeley, and who's had God knows how many roles in theater, in any, I mean, you would be able to read up on her biography on her website, which I'm inviting you to do. But this woman has a wealth of knowledge around art and how it inspires us. And I just wanted Sabrina to share some of her tools and her way of using art as an inspiration with us this week. So welcome, Sabrina.
Thanks, Angela. I always love talking with you.
So how do you use art as inspiration?
Well, it's interesting. I was just listening to you describe this, my expertise, and I realized the only real expertise I have, the thing that pulls me up out of depression or writer's block or anxiety about the world. I mean, I'm living in the United States right now, and the House of Representatives just voted to impeach our president for the second time. So I have lots of need for inspiration to go back and fill the well of joy and creativity because it keeps getting tapped out. And what I have, my only expertise is really, I think, the expertise of curiosity, of finding ways to re-pique my curiosity and to keep me looking at the world in new ways, because otherwise everything starts to look stale. My relationships, the same food that I eat, my home environment. And if I didn't have this deep commitment to being curious about things outside myself, things that are not things I can easily do, I think I would really jump into that ocean of depression and probably never come back out. So I would say that's my expertise, having curiosity. And the arts for me, visual art, performing arts, circus arts, literary arts, movement, dance, I mean, all of it, puppetry. I don't love all of it equally, but I can find something in all of it to pull me up out of myself. And that's the real inspiration. And the arts are an endlessly replenishable supply for that. There's always something new to look at, something new to listen to. I have to train myself to look for that, to pull myself up out of it. But I can always, always find something made by humans about the human experience that's bigger than, but connected to me. And that's my only superpower, I think. Curiosity. And it's curiosity that drives me to look at different kinds of art, even art that I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like. It turns out that the least useful thing for inspiration in a work of art is whether you like it or not. Turns out that you can absolutely hate something. And as you grapple with why you hate it, you get inspired to work towards something that you love.
Absolutely. Oh God, I've looked at works of art and had goosebumps of terror, of going, oh my God, this is just dreadful. But it really, as you said, it got me to look at what did I really like? You know, what was it that repulsed me and why? And really got me thinking. And I think that's also the purpose of art, to get us into a deeper connection with ourselves and what matters to us, and also look at the world in a different way.
Yeah, and I think one of the multiple big lies that we've been taught is that real important works of art don't belong to all of us. If you don't have a degree in Music Appreciation 101, you can't listen to a piece of classical music and really get it. You can look at a great work and you see something that nobody else has ever articulated seeing, and then you're wrong about it. That's not true.
Yeah.
That's the very first myth I want to bust, is that there is only one right way to look at listen to any work of art.
Mm.
There is only one right way, and it's to listen with your heart and to look for the humanity in the work of art.
But
it's so
but we learn in school that there's only one way of looking at it. I mean, I know that I have written essays, where we had to critique a piece of literature or whatever it was be, and the teacher came back and said, no, wrong interpretation. And it's like, what's wrong about that? That's my personal interpretation. So it mattered to me that way. Yeah, no, that didn't work. Failed.
Yeah. I mean, there are ways, the more you're informed and the deeper you explore, the closer you come to understanding an artistic intention.
Yeah.
If that's what they mean by right, did you get close to what the artist intended? There are ways to do that. You can study that. You can learn a vocabulary. And formalism, any kind of formal study of something, helps you see in a way that responds to the work of art. And yet, that doesn't mean, even so, that there's one right way to see a work of art.
Well, since we're on that point, do you want to show us a piece of art and walk us through a great way of looking at it? As in,
Sure.
Because you've got a unique way of doing it that opens up possibilities rather than closes them down and says, this is how you do it.
Let me start with something that some people might not think of as a work of art. I have two different things here. I'm just going to step over here and I'm going to grab one and I'm going to show you this extraordinary drum. And I keep on it the notice of the artist, the Cochiti drum makers. This was a drum that sat on my mom's counter forever and never got used, right? And I've always loved it. I don't play drums. It's not like I'm a musician. I don't play any musical instrument. But there's something about this. First of all, it's beautiful. The earth tones, the handcrafting.
Yeah.
This mallet, which you can see the cut off piece of wood from it, it feels like a piece of tree. And it's covered with felt, probably with some cotton batting or something in there. And I tend to start a lot of my meetings with a drum, different kinds of drums, something that is not necessarily of me. Now, if I were of this culture, it would have a different meaning to me. But instead, I respond to its aesthetics. I respond to the fact that it is from outside my culture, but it calls to me. And so I find it beautiful and I want to explore it. And if I often bring this with me and put it in the hands of people and say, what do you hear? What do you see? What do you think? What do you feel? That's where we start. What do you see? And just deeply observe the colors. Doesn't that kind of look like it could be a continent? No? And you start thinking about that and where this came from. And then I'm curious about where it did come from and what it means in its culture. I can go and get lost in that and get inspired by it. And then I just get inspired by drums. Every culture that has ever existed has made drums. Percussion is like our heartbeat. And so I get excited about drums.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And I remember we had a wonderful drumming workshop together one time.
Yes, for my birthday. That's right. And it took me, that wasn't like I woke up one day and said, oh, yes, drums. It took me lots of exploration of different kinds of drums that I found myself attracted to, and to start thinking about what is it that attracts me. And then when I realized it was the beat and the timbre, and that's the sound of my heart and the sound of the rhythm of life, I knew that if I said that to some people, they would think how corny. And I know if I said that to other people, they would say, yes, mine too.
Yeah.
And so I look for my community that way. So drums matter to me. Right?
Yeah.
Right? The other thing I have here, this is actually something you gave me. Actually, you gave my son. The Boomerang.
Yep.
It's marked as an Australian official boomerang. It is a weapon, I found out, and used for hunting as well as self-defense. We never did figure out how to use it. My son was never very good at it. He wasn't very good at frisbees either. But this has a place of honor because of its beauty.
Mm.
The colors, the lines, there's a sense of movement in it. We know this boomerang is supposed to fly across the air, and we can sense that movement in these lines. My son pointed that out to me as we sat and looked at this together. And I said, what do you see in that? He saw that. Oh, he was what, 8, 10 at the time? I have not been able to let this go. He would like it back. He's moved out. I will eventually give it to him. But not only does it connect me to him because of the conversations he and I had, and connects us to you, who we love because you're part of our family, but it connects me to the conversation we had about flight, about grace, about movement, about how something so simple can be so deadly, how something so beautiful, that why would somebody spend so much time making this weapon beautiful? Same reason my father had a carved buck knife, beautifully carved, intricately carved handle. We like things of beauty in our life.
We do. I mean, you go to museums and they're filled with beautiful weapons, like absolutely stunning. And same thing. I look at those and I go, wow, how can you use those to kill? But, beauty.
Well, and we don't all. We don't all. We can appreciate the humanity in the design.
Yes, absolutely.
This is also aerodynamically beautifully designed and tens of thousands of years old design. And I can be pulled into that and curious about a variety of things. What are all the different woods that are used here? Why is it designed this way? I could go get lost in an exploration of boomerangs. And in fact, my son did.
Fortunately, the internet wonderful for that? I do that. I look at something and then I go, who was the artist? What's the background? And I go down the rabbit hole of, and being inspired about finding out more about the culture, about this, about that. And it's just wonderful. And boom, internet time. Half an hour later, I go, oh, I just really wanted to look at that.
But it reminds us of two really, really important things that we often forget. People make these things.
Yes.
This is a result of human intentionality and human choice.
Yeah.
And that, I always come back to that for my inspiration when I look at any work of art, even if it's ugly, even if I don't like it, it's ugly to me. I'm not particularly fond of certain kinds of representational art. I can go, yeah, that looks like the thing it's supposed to be. Okay. But I'm not moved by it, but I am moved by the fact the person made that, chose to make it, chose tools to make it, and learned how to do something outside of their everyday life in order to make that thing.
Yeah. And I think that for me personally, that's what I love about art, is that I can look at something and I can go, oh my God, isn't that amazing? And the person next to me goes, meh. I go, me. And it's just
you have 3 people sitting in the front row of a ballet, Swan Lake, and somebody falls asleep. They're so bored, right? And the person next to them is like, oh, the lights and the costumes, and it's fluffy, and it's, oh, wow. And they don't even know where to watch, but they're having a fabulous experience.
I know. Didn't we have one of those? I'm pretty sure we had one of those experiences called Julius Caesar.
Which you hated and which I loved.
I know. I fell asleep.
And then I think you did fall asleep. And then there's a third person, though, who's not just seeing the spectacle, who's not just trying to tell the story, but for whom, for whatever reason, they used to be a dancer. They danced in Swan Lake. They saw somebody else do Swan Lake when they were a child, and it stuck with them. The particular story moves them. The dying swan makes them weep. But I don't know why. I mean, I can tell you why I loved Julius Caesar.
Yes.
And part of it was
And you did.
because, and I did.
Yeah.
And part of that is because I have a perspective as a theater person. You have a perspective as a layperson in that relationship. I was seeing a lot about American politics and American conspiracies in it. So I had a very immediate thing. And you have your worldview, you know, from all the different places you've lived in your life.
I found the dim light really distracting.
And right. And the fact that you couldn't always tell who was talking really bothered you.
Really difficult. I couldn't see the people. And that really disturbed me.
But that heightened the conspiracy and the creepiness.
Okay, so we can all look at one thing and be completely inspired in totally different way. We can be using not the repulsion, but that kind of response to find out something else, and it can trigger and it can sponsor a conversation that can then inspire us both and bring us both forward. And I know we've had lots of those conversations. So
well, and we talked for a long time about that, and about Julius Caesar and conspiracy and
absolutely
and lying, all kinds of things.
It went from two. It sponsors all sorts of conversations. So really, what we're saying is, be inspired by art, no matter what kind of emotional response you have. Use it for your own inspiration, for connection with others. There are so many different ways of using art as inspiration. And it can be anything, right?
It can be anything. And in anything, if you're looking for, open to the human invitation, you can see yourself, even if it's a negative reflection of you. You can see yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you look for what speaks to you, and you also look for what's universal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you bring that curiosity to any work of art, you will be inspired. And if you do it with somebody else, even more inspiring.
Double win, yes. Thank you, Sabrina. That was wonderful. That was really, really great. And I'm really inspired now to go out and look at art and look at even the paintings that I've got hanging in my lounge room. So thank you. And yes, and if anybody wants to get in touch with Sabrina, the contact details are down below. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And I see you all next week for more. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela. It's always a pleasure.